So we've moved from our prop and our flicati pose, and now we're moving on to our newborn posing beanbag flow. In order to do this, we have a frame set up along with a posing beanbag, which I will show you in a second. The posing beanbag has a large flat surface so that we can use our posing cushions to position the baby into the correct poses that we're looking to achieve. We need a frame because we need the backdrops to be nice and tightly clamped. We don't want any wrinkles in our fabric backdrops because this just creates a lot of unnecessary editing. All we want to do when we're editing is edit the baby's skin. We need to get the best image we can straight out of camera, which means having the correct equipment set up before you begin. Okay, as mentioned, we have a large posing beanbag and we layer this beanbag up with a frame and several fabric backdrops. As mentioned before, the beanbag has a large flat surface posing area and we also use an anti-slip mat on top of the beanbag. This stops our posing cushions from sliding around. We have our posing wedge in place here, which we use for 90% of all of the poses on the beanbag. The most important thing is to layer your beanbag up with several fabric backdrops. So we have 2 or 3 fleeces underneath the top layers. The reason that we need to have this is so that the posing cushions aren't poking through the fine fabric layers that are on top. You want to make the backdrop as smooth as possible. So as we mentioned, we clip them nice and tightly with clamps. You need clamps that are nice and easy to open and close with one hand. You position your clamps into place and make sure that you have a completely smooth, wrinkle-free backdrop before you begin to pose. Following on from Richard's lighting unit, this is the light that we use for every single newborn shoot that we do. It's an Elechrome D-Light 1, and the reason we use this light is because it's a low wattage light and we can therefore shoot in a wide open aperture, which we need for newborn photography. It's a very basic, easy to use light. It's not complicated or technical at all. We have it on the same setting for every single shoot. I will now show you where we position the light. The softest part of the light is around the edge of the softbox. That's where we want the feathered lighting. So we bring our light across to the beanbag and we place it approximately a 45-degree angle to where we will be placing the baby's head here. As you can see, the bottom of the light here is what's going to softly skim across the baby's head, creating feathered lighting. The baby is in position for the huck pose. The bottom is nicely elevated and pointing up towards the top right-hand corner of the frame. We take this image, the camera is slightly left of centre, and I tilt the camera slightly to the left so that the right side of the camera is elevated. Focus on the baby's eyes and take the picture. By tilting the camera slightly to the left, it compensates for this elevation that we have with the baby going up to the top right-hand corner of the frame. The reason we do that is to make the baby look smaller. Now, if I was a foot or more too far to the right, you can see the baby will look flat. I'm shooting up the baby's nose and I've got shadows, which isn't what I want. We will now unwrap the baby to move on to the unwrapped huck pose. We've gently unwrapped the baby from the huck pose and now we have the unwrapped huck pose. The baby stays in exactly the same position. We position the hands on the baby's tummy and make sure you've still got that elevation under the bottom. We're going to be in the same camera angle position, so it's centre, slightly left of centre, tilt in the camera. Again, if we come too far to the right, we'll be shooting up the baby's nose and the baby will look too flat if we don't add that tilt. In order to get maximum images for the gallery, we would now change up hair accessories, add and take away to get different looks for the gallery. I'm now going to stand up and show you a completely different camera angle that we use, which will give a different image in the gallery without having to disturb the baby. Okay, I'm taking this pose from a second angle. I'm tilting the camera round, I'm shooting into the baby's face and envisaging this landscape picture here. So with a change in arm placement, adding a hair accessory, we now have a completely different image for the gallery. So we're now in the side pose. We're taking this picture from exactly the same angle as the first two images. I'm in the centre, slightly left of centre, tilting the camera down to the left. In this one, if I was 1 foot to the right, it makes a massive difference in the picture, especially if I don't tilt. We're now shooting up the baby's nose, the baby looks long, and it's not the image that we're looking for. This is the second camera angle that we get from the side pose. I've moved to the right-hand corner of the frame and I'm shooting overhead. Obviously, if this was a real baby, my camera strap would be round my neck, but for the purposes of this demonstration, it isn't, so that I can show you the back of the camera. It's a landscape picture I'm taking. The baby is in the top right-hand corner of the frame, looking out onto the negative space. So by using a completely different camera angle, creatively, we've managed to get another image for the gallery without any disruption to the baby. Okay, so again, same position as the first and second pose. Camera is central, tilted slightly to the left, focusing on the baby's eyes. We take the picture like that. If I moved 1 foot to the right, the baby's going to look long, and again I'll be shooting up the baby's nose. So this is the first pose that we get with the tush up, and we now do 2 more camera angles after this. Okay, this is the second angle of the tush up pose. I'm turning my camera around, shooting into the baby's face, so we get a full body on a different angle as the first one. So we're looking like that. This is particularly nice if we've got detail in the back of the outfit. It's also nice to show baby back rolls as well. I'm now going to take a third one overhead so that we have 3 images for the gallery, 1 pose for the baby, no disruption. I'm now standing in the bottom right-hand corner of the frame, leaning overhead. I just want a head and shoulder shot. I've brought the camera round until I can see both eyes, and I've got the baby looking out onto the negative space. Okay, so for this picture we want the baby in the bottom part of the frame. As you can see, Sarah is supporting the baby's head. This finger will be edited out in post-processing. We take 1 more shot from this final pose, which we will show you next. Okay, so we are moving from straight on, round here, following the baby's face until the baby's head is straight in my frame. So our final pose. The only movement we've had to do to the baby is to tilt the head slightly to get a completely different image for the gallery once again.